Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Alicia. Today we're going to be talking about the markets, talking about this trade that I saw, this opportunity that I potentially wanted to get into. We did not, however, get into the trade, but I will be talking about that opportunity, why I liked it, why I didn't take it, and essentially just doing what we always do over here, right? But before I do that, I just want to say cheers to all of you. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and supporting just my channel, and just the lovely comments I get. It's just great, and it's really amazing to see that you guys are loving the videos. So I just want to say thank you, and this one's for you. All right, so let's just jump right into the charts. And let's just get to work, shall we? All right, so we're gonna start on the daily time frame. All right, so as you can see, we already know we've had an extremely bullish week last week, kind of why we had like this small candle yesterday, or small candle Monday. Tuesday wasn't too bad. Wednesday we kind of have like this little candle as well, and then today, Thursday as well. We did have news today at 8:30, and we have news this afternoon at 2 p.m. for FOMC. I'm expecting the market to move a little bit more in the afternoon, just because, yes, it's FOMC news, and we all know how that goes. They're having a press conference, so we all know how that goes. So I'm expecting more movement in the afternoon. However, we do only trade in the morning sessions, so this morning we didn't move too much. And we kind of expected this movement though coming into this week, only because we had such a bullish week last week. But with the 2 p.m. news, we might see some movement potentially into Friday, and then into Friday's close would be nice to see some movement. So yes, we did come up into this daily new day opening gap. We did trade higher, taking out yesterday's high. So we took out that buy side liquidity. We also didn't quite reach into the consequent encroachment of this daily wick. So that is something to keep in mind, potentially for later this afternoon, or just maybe something tomorrow, or the fact that we couldn't even reach into this consequent encroachment of the daily wick could also be a sign for, hey, we want to move lower. So we have the new day or new week opening gap is something I was expecting the markets to draw to this morning. We didn't quite get down there, and you know, that's totally fine. We already know that we've been having some pretty slow movement this week, so I wasn't expecting it to be crazy or anything like that, and that is one of the reasons I didn't actually get into one of my trades, which I'll kind of go over. So let's drop down to the 1 hour. All right. Now again, this is our week. Kind of been just moving a little bit higher, right? Higher, higher, higher. And then this morning we took out yesterday's high, traded almost into the consequent encroachment of that daily wick, not quite. And then we dropped lower. So we dropped lower, filling in this opening range gap after we opened at 9:30. And then we came back up into about the consequent encroachment of it before dropping lower again into these relative equal lows, which I'll talk about, filling in this gap, and then into this order block right here. Again, I wanted to potentially see this 1 hour consequent encroachment of that wick reached and the new week opening gap if we were going to get like movement today. Again, I wasn't expecting much just because of the way the week's been. So let's drop down to the 15 minutes. All right, so this morning we saw, okay, we took out these highs, nice. We had that buy side liquidity taken, so traded into that higher time frame objective. We then had this displacement run down, breaking market structure on the 15-minute time frame, and of course the 1 hour time frame. So we have a higher time frame, break a market structure. We came in, we almost filled in that opening range gap before trading back higher. Now this is a 15-minute fair value gap. I'll mark it out. because I was using this for our analysis this morning, look at how we traded into about the consequent encroachment of that 15-minute fair value gap, but the body stayed below it. So that to me is just, all right, we're gonna be going lower this morning. Like that is like, we couldn't even close at the consequent encroachment. You know, the wick came up to it before trading lower, so we could almost use like half of this gap as a breakaway gap. So I kind of saw that happen this morning. I was like, all right, like we were trading higher, but now we had like this higher time frame break of market structure. You know, it's probably going to want to reach for these relative equal lows here, and then these relative equal lows here. So we're going to go lower today. That's kind of where my head was. I was like, hey, you know what, relative equal lows, they are awesome draw on liquidity. We usually go to these levels, so we're dropping down lower into these relative equal low levels. Perfect. So let's drop down to the 5-minute. I'll kind of explain more. So as we can see, we have this 5-minute fair value gap here with confluence with this 15-minute fair value gap. So we have like a gap in the market. So that is a nice displacement run, breaking market structure here, 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 traded down, not quite into this opening range gap before ultimately coming back up into this 15-minute fair value gap. And then we traded lower into the levels we wanted to see this morning. So when I was watching price, I was like, okay, are we going to respect this area, the 5-minute fair value gap, the 15-minute fair value gap? And yes, we did respect that area. Now, before I get down into the lower time frames, I do want to just switch over quickly to NAS to kind of show you like, hey, I was also watching this. So we'll just jump into Nasdaq really quick. So this morning, it looks a little bit different than the ES because yes, we did trade down at 9:30, but then we came back making a new high on NAS, whereas ES, we couldn't even close above the 5-minute fair value gap. So the fact that the Nasdaq ran these highs and then came all the way back down, I was like, well, that's some SMT right there. Plus the Dow was going lower as well. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. We were making a higher on NAS, but we couldn't close in that fair value gap on the ES. So let's just jump right back down there. Obviously now we're trading higher, but my objective was sell this morning. All right, so you see what I mean? We didn't get that higher high. This was actually SMT right here, these two highs. I also liked how the opening range gap here, when we traded back into it, we closed at the consequent encroachment of the opening range gap. So all of these things, I was like, hey, we're closing at half of these ranges. Like when this happens, we're usually expecting some lower movements because we can't even close in these areas. We're stopping at the consequent encroachment of these areas, and that is a sign that the market is weak. And again, the fact that we couldn't break this high, we weren't even close. I was like, okay, either ES is being really, really slow, or NAS just went up to take that buy side liquidity one more time before dropping lower. And then I was like, when I saw that the Nasdaq took out that high, but then it dropped, I was like, okay, we're probably gonna go lower. So let's drop down to the 1 minute. Again, this is that 15-minute fair value gap. We also have that 5-minute fair value gap, but then we also have this 1 minute fair value gap. We traded into it, you know, by a tick. So we had that confluence. We also had these short-term buy-side liquidity taken right here before trading lower. Now, with all of that in mind, I was like, okay, if we're gonna go lower, we're gonna go lower. Like, I don't want to see this 1 minute fair value gap traded to. Like, that is, like, if we're gonna go lower, we're gonna use that as a breakaway gap. Yes, we're gonna allow for our risk to, it could potentially reach into these areas. But my entry was this inversion fair value gap right here, because I was like, boom, we broke out of it. Now we're trading inside this range. This candle is 10:01, right? So this would be our entry here. Plus, it's also in confluence with the 5-minute fair value gap. And of course, we had the higher time frame analysis. And the main reason I wanted to see it go lower here was because, one, we want to see those relative equal lows taken, right? And two, we just have had the market trade into these consequent encroachment areas. And I mean, the Dow was going down. The Nasdaq, after taking out that sell side liquidity, went down. So we had the S&P divergence there. And yeah, I was like, okay, we're gonna enter in this inversion 1-minute fair value gap. I love how we traded down. We came back up to the high of that new day opening gap. It was protected again to the consequent encroachment of this 1-minute fair value gap before dropping lower. I mean, this is like an optimal trade setup right here, even though it's not like the classic, hey, let's make a fair value gap and we'll enter there. No, we're actually using an inversion fair value gap, but they're kind of the same thing, right? Anyways, that's why I didn't want to see this one traded to, but we allowed for it to be traded to at a 5-point stop loss, which was just above these highs right here. Yes, the wick, but just above these highs, it should have been protected. And if my stop loss would have gotten hit, then I would have assumed the market was going the other way, right? So my stop loss was safe here. If it did get hit, that's totally fine. Like, it's probably going the other way. But our entry was this 1-minute fair value gap. I wanted to see these relative equal lows taken, and then of course these relative equal lows taken. And honestly, I wanted to see the market continue into the new week opening gap, because I was like, hey, we're gonna make a high on Wednesday or Thursday. Let's go lower into this new week opening gap. That did not happen, however. And as you can see, we are just trading higher now. So, but the market did reach into our 10-point objective, which is beautiful to see. Beautiful setup, beautiful markets. Again, even though we were consolidating, we would still managed to catch that move here into the relative equal lows. So yeah, another trade I saw too after this trade unfolded was, I was like, okay, I want to see this 1-minute fair value gap respected. And yes, it respected it, but the reason I didn't take this trade was because, one, we've already taken out our easy objectives, our low-hanging fruit of those relative equal low objectives. Yes, the market could continue lower into the new week opening gap here. And yes, that would have been a 10-point run. Yes, yes, yes. All of these things, yes. But the fact that we have just been consolidating this week, we haven't had like any extreme moves, I was like, this is probably just not an ideal time to enter the market. Don't get me wrong, like I would have entered into this market if, one, our relative equal lows hadn't been hit, or two, we were in a very trending market. Because if we're in a trending market, like these levels are gonna get hit. But the fact is, we just came off a really bullish week last week. We're consolidating this week. We don't have very big candles this week. There's news at 2 p.m. today. These factors all, for me, I just decided, hey, like it's just best not to take this trade. Again, we did reach our 5-point objective. And yeah, like that's a win, right? Because I would have been able to profit off of it. But, you know, in the long run, I don't want to just be taking 5-point runs. I want to be taking the 10-point runs and then taking 12, 13, 14-point runs, you know? So I'm trying to train my brain into looking for those easy 10-point runs, you know, just 1 to 2 risk to reward. I'm training my brain to see these things. So yes, I'm happy that it was able to reach 5 points, but future trader Alicia is going to want to see the market move to these 10-point runs. So that is why I'm training my brain. That is why this setup over here was the best one for us this morning. And yeah, essentially just, even though the market looks like it's going to want to go higher today because of the NAS, we still managed to catch a short, you know, we still managed to reach into our relative equal low objectives, and yeah, potentially, who knows what 2 o'clock will bring. I won't be trading. I'll definitely do a market recap, but I won't be trading personally. So yes, that is what I saw in the markets today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some value out of this video. Again, cheers. I really appreciate all of you. And I just want to say thank you so much again for just supporting me, supporting the channel, and enjoying the videos. I hope you're enjoying the videos, and there's more to come. I'm going to try to do one a day for the rest of the year into 2024. So 1 a day for the next 365 days. So we're going to try. And I hope you continue to follow along and learn from me, learn from my mistakes, learn from my wins. Yeah, and essentially just hang out. All right, I'm gonna end the video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a beautiful Thursday. Bye for now.